So this is our lessons for today. Today is the 5th session of our Excel. So we are going to be looking at how you can import data from your Excel into your Power Query, which is part of Excel. We're also going to be looking at some overview, taking a look at Power Query, how it looks, what it is all about. We're also going to be looking at how you can consolidate data. This is because when you work with Excel, so far as humanitarian or development work is concerned, you are going to be bringing data from different sources. You can be bringing data from different regions, from different months, from different years, from different communities. So you want to consolidate this data in such a way that this data can be one and then gives you a flow of interpretation. We are also going to be looking at addition, modifying, splitting, and also removing columns within the Power Query. We are also going to be filtering rows and sorting. Remember that we did that in the normal or traditional Excel interface. These aspects are also in the Power Query. Like I explained, the Power Query is like the belly of Excel. So if you take care of the intestines and every organ inside that stomach, the human being will look very beautiful because of what is happening inside. Then conditional columns, also we'll be looking at conditional columns as well. There you will see how you can use conditional columns to write some DAX or to write some formulas without necessarily writing codes. And then we'll be ending up now with some basic data transformation, aggregation, such as sum, count, min, max, average. Remember that we had looked at this in Excel. Okay, now you see that that same principle applies within Power Query, but in a more practical, in a more simplified, and also in a more professional level. If you have any question, please just come on. Remember that in our previous lessons, we designed a 5W tool and we sent that 5W tool and data was collected. And that data that was collected, we gave names of organizations as A, B, C, D. And then in that same data, we also had 2 months that we collected that data, January and February. And then you also find a small file here, which is a folder which I named Consolidate. When we get here, you understand. Okay? But before I bring you here, I want us to go gradually so you really get the concept. Now, when you look at these 5 files here, these ones you see here, these 4 files, A, B, right up to D, these files are coming from different organizations. So you are analyzing data. You can also think of it like this. They are coming from different communities. Let's say you have sent a 5W2 out there, and then this community is sending their data, this other community is sending their data. Remember that they are using one format to send. Pay attention to this. If you have a small jotter, jot this down. One format. All their format has to be the same because they are using one 5Ws. That's the first rule of thumb. I repeat, one format. We want to get now into the Power Query. That's why I'm giving you these explanations. Okay? So I'm going to be opening each of these files so we see what is inside. It's the same data that we collected previously. So I'll just double click any of them. Please, can you see my Excel now? Can you see my Excel? Can you see the Excel that I just opened?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes.
So you see that this particular Excel here has organization B. So it has data only for organization B. And this particular Excel runs from column A right up to column T. Take note of this. It's very, very important. From column A right up to column T. Now, this happens to all the other data. So the only difference here is the organizations, but the other data are the same. And then what makes them different again is that in the terms of total children, they might be reaching out to total children in different locations differently. I wanted to get that understanding based on the organization. Then this is where I'm going to start. When I double click this January file, you will find the same thing there. Around this January file, our focus is the month. That is why I named it January and February, because we want our data to flow from January to February. We want to see the flow of our data. That is why we use the word consolidation. And then also, our data runs from year A right up to year R. Column R, sorry, column R. So this data has the same format with the one for January, because this is February, because I have to consolidate them. So before I consolidate, I have to make sure that they have the same number of columns. Very important, because these columns are going to be syncing with one another. Take note of that. I wanted you to get this very clearly. Now that we have looked at that, we'll go ahead now and launch our analysis file. That's how I call it. You can call it different name when you are analyzing. So I'm going to open a different Excel. And remember that I'm using Excel 365, the latest version of Excel. It's very, very cheap. So this is my Excel here, as you can see. So here, I want you to understand one thing. I want to go very manual now, because this manual skill, this manual can apply to other versions of Excel. That is why I want to go manually. When I move from this level, I'll now move a little bit to the advanced. It is not advanced because of the skill, it's just advanced because they have advanced the tool. Okay? So this is very important. Alright, perfect. Now, when I open my Excel, I'll go to this area called data. And then I'll go to where it says get data, and I'll click get data. Now, there are multiple sources here of getting data, okay, from Azure, from databases and all this. Please don't stress your mind here. Just go to this from file. When we go from file, we are going to be using two different things to bring data in. We are going to be using the Excel workbook and also from folder. These are the two things that we are going to be using. With PDF, when you turn your Excel to PDF, once you bring it through this format, it transforms it into your Excel. JSON files, XML, and also text and SCP files. Okay? But I repeat, we are going to be using Excel workbook and from folders. But let's start with Excel workbook. I'll select this option. Once I select this option, I want to pick the file that has January. So I want to start analyzing that file into my Power Query. Okay? I'll come here to my desktop because we had looked at it. And then I'm going to go gradually. And then I'll select January because I've named it like that. You can name it anyhow, any name that you think that will flow as you analyze your data. So now it is launching us into the Power Query. Okay, see what Excel is doing? It's cleaning the data. It says, please wait while I establish. So it's cleaning the data, communicating with Power Query, and signaling to Power Query that there is something coming in that Excel itself cannot handle. Now this is my Power Query. I'm going there. I'll select my data. So this is the name of that data, data for train. This is the name that I named. You can name it any name, okay? Just make sure that the sheet has the names that you want to follow. So you see here, it is January, my month. So I want to check it. I want to see, really preview my data to see how it looks. Okay, so I'm checking. Now, when you get here, there is just one sheet. You will not find select. But here you can find multiple select. It means that if there are many sheets, we can select multiple, right? So, since there is one, we'll just select that one. And then this is our data here. Right down here, you have what you call load. Here you have what you call transform data. So if you want to load this data, it's going to come directly back into your Excel sheet. But if you want to transform, it will take you now into Power Query. So I'll click transform. Always click transform, because the reason why you are bringing data into your Power Query is because you want to clean something. You want to create something. Okay? You want to generate something. So always take note of that. Always take note of that. And Power Query does most of the work for you. So you see what is happening? So once I click transform, it brings me into Power Query. So this is where we are. Like I said, this is the belly of Excel. If I hover over my Excel here, you see that you are still seeing one Excel file, right? But we are in a different area of Excel called Power Query. So here now you will find add column, view, transform, and you find home. You start seeing different things here. You start seeing different things, and you are like, what is this? This is Excel. And this is where you have the most amazing activities. Right here. Very amazing activities. So, while we are here, the first rule of thumb I want you to really take very seriously is, many times when you bring your data here, you will find an error. There's an error. When I come to this transform data, There is a statement here that says use first row as header, use header as first row. If I click this option that says use header as first row, you see that my data is faulty because where my header was supposed to be, there's a row. I did this because anytime you bring your data here, you will mostly find this error. I don't know why Excel did it like that or Microsoft, but that is why they brought this particular tool on. So that when you bring your data in and you have these challenges, maybe during your assignment, don't get scared. All you need to do, go back to your transform, go under here and say, no, I want to use my first row as header, and you just click that option. Once you click, it goes back to normal. You can see my data is back to normal. Thank you very much, Boris. That's a very wise question. Power Query works offline, okay? Remember that we are using Excel, so it works offline. Does that answer your question, please?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. So right here, when you look at this data in here, it's so amazing because you can do a lot of things with this data. But the first thing I want to also let you know is that after we have looked at that common errors that can occur, I want you to also know that anytime you're analyzing your data, always look at the data type. In data analysis or data science, we have different data types. We have text, Boolean, float, decimals, etc. So for instance, what you see here are text. So you make sure you have ABC up here to match up this text. If you put 1, 2, 3 here, it's going to distract this data. It's going to distract this data. Now, how can you change this? It's very simple. If I go here to my returnees, that's an example, please, and I right click, I'll come to what you call change data type. You see, it shows that returnees is dealing with numbers, so it's whole numbers. So if I come here and I put text, it will give me an error. If I change this, it will give me an error. Now, there's an error here because if I start analyzing this data, 30 is not going to sum up with 20. They are going to be acting as text. Okay? So if I put this in Power BI, remember that we are going to visit this again in Power BI. This is what we are going to see in Power BI exactly. So if you catch up this concept, when we get to Power BI, your life will be so easy. So here now, I already know that this is wrong because I'm dealing with numbers here. So I'm not supposed to have ABC here. Now, to undo what I just did, I just need to come to this small area. Remember that when I make changes, these changes will be summing up here, such that I can go anytime and I undo. So I'll just come here and I delete what I just did from here. But now, what happened here is that, see what it does here? It brings me to another very complicated area. If I come here and I click again, and I keep going, it brings me to another complicated area where I now have A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3. I love this. Okay, this is very important. A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3. This tells you that you cannot have both text and numbers on the same sheet. And then you see that it still brought us to that challenge that I told you. We were just trying to maybe work on one column, and then now it brought us this challenge where it still brings our header again right down, and then brings our another row up here. I'll still go back to that very place and I fix it and I say no, use first header as row. No, sorry, use first header as column, sorry. Use first header as column. Use first row as header, yes, you see? And I click, you see that it has fixed everything. I'll click again, remember I've clicked it twice to bring it down, so I have to click it twice to take it up there. So that's how you can fix your data. So I've just gone back and fixed my data. So this is real-time challenge you'll be facing. But whatever is happening here, if you notice that maybe your columns have gone up and your header is down, just come back to this button. It's under transform. You come back to this button and make sure that you play with it there until you find your data in a normal position like this. The next thing that I want to show you within this Power Query is that you can start creating what we call DAX. Now, DAX is an amazing concept. DAX simply means data analytic expression because that is just a formula way of working with your data. I love to use that word, a formula way. But you are going to do it now without writing any code. So right here, what we are going to do here is very simple. See what I'm going to do. Remember that we looked at IDP, host, and returnee, and we call them status, total status. So, but here in this data, we don't have total status. We don't have total status here. So how can we create total status? Because we want to sum all this data inside our Power Query. Remember we said our Power Query helps us to what? Clean our data, manipulate our data. But before we come there, let me show you something. I want to go to add column. No, transform, sorry. You see that if I click in here, sorry, if I go to add column, or I go to home, yes. You see that you will find remove columns, keep rows, remove rows, choose columns. If I come here, let's say I want to remove this here, and I select, and then I come to remove, and I say remove columns with S. I'll click. You see that that here is off. I have removed it. And this is where the operation shows me that I have removed column. I can come back and I just delete that, and it brings that column back. I can select this particular here, and I go to that remove column, and it says remove other columns. I have now removed all other columns. The only columns I have here now is here. I can still come here again and I undo that by just deleting that or that action, and it goes. I can say I want to delete these first 3 columns. I'll hold my here and I hold my control button on my machine, and then I select these 3 columns. Once I select them, I come here and then I click removed. I have just removed those 3 columns. Now I can still come here again and I undo, and all those 3 columns, they come back. I can still come here and I hold my control down, and then I select these 3 columns, and then while I come to remove columns, I say remove other columns, and I click. It removes all other columns, but the ones that I selected are still there. This is very, very important practice. I can just come here and then I select, and then it brings all this again. There's another thing that I want you to take note of, very powerful. Now it says choose columns. If I click here and I say choose columns and I click, now I use this a lot because sometimes I have consultations from banks, sometimes I have consultations from supermarkets. So when they send me their data, sometimes you can have more than 500 just columns, a lot of columns, because some are repeating. Those databases are very dirty. Some supermarkets have been selling for more than 10 years. They have never checked their data. So I have to take my time. So this area helps me. So let's say I want to select just, let's say I have a lot of columns and I don't want to be going left and right in my Power Query. I can just unselect and I say, okay, I just want to know the year as per the IDP, and I click OK. You see, I have just selected the year and the IDP, and it appears here. And then I can start doing my analysis, or I can bring this now into Excel and then start doing what I want to do with the data. To really remove this, you just go here and just undo. Okay? And it comes back normal. Now, the next thing I want to show you here, which is very, very important, is, okay, so I want us to do some summation here. Very, very interesting. Now, if I come here to this data, right? If I come to transform, and I come here to this data called IDP, and I hold my control down, select this, and I select this. What I'm saying is, I want this plus this plus this. And then I'll go now to add column, because I want a column to be added. You notice that the moment I did this selection, some items here just went mute. You must understand this secret in dealing with these tools. These items went mute because they are telling me that we no longer have action to take within this data. Now when I move to column here, you see that this standard data is on, but when I move to transform, it is off because it has other rules or other functions in this area. I'll just go back to my add column because I want it to appear in a different column, and I click. Now I will say add, no sorry, statistics. I will say sum. I will say sum, sorry. Now I want to sum, I'll just click sum. The moment I click sum, you see that a new column has appeared here. This new column has been derived from total IDP, total host, and total returnee. So I'll just double click here, and then I say total status. Depending on what you want to give it there, depending on your data. Don't cram this process. Okay? And here I am. You see total status. Now someone is asking, why is it that N? I can fix it. I can hold this and just bring it like this. See what I'm doing? And then I bring it around here, and then I leave it here. You see that I have brought it here. No, I want you to bring it this way, like this. Just hold it like that and drag it to this area. You see, because I want that my total IDP hosts and returning, the total should be appearing here just the way we saw it in our previous data. I'll do the same for the boys, hold my control down, and the girls. And then I'll come under my statistics. Now I want to look for the average. Okay, I'll now click the average. Once I click the average, you see that it appears here. I'll now say children average. Okay, permit me to just use this funny language. Children average. So right here, you see that something is happening here again, very interesting. If I right click here and I go to my change data type, you see that it is giving me decimal numbers. Why? Because average appears in decimal. You have 23.5, 31.5, and so on and so forth. So now I have the average as per children. So I've just done a DAX calculation here without stressing myself. Now, see what I'm going to do. I'll come back to home and then I go to close and load. That's all. And then I stay. I'm just folding my arms and watching. So Power Query is bringing the data now into my Excel. You see? So now I'm just coming from the belly of the human being, like I said. Now I can see it physically here. So this is how beautiful Power Query has done it. And see what Power Query has done. We derive our total status and we also derive our average. Please, do you have any questions? Now, one thing I want you to take note of is this. When we loaded that first data, it created a sheet. Okay? Now, this is our main sheet. Don't forget, we named it analysis. And it gives us the records here. It says 10 rows, you see? So I can hover around and it shows me my headers, shows me everything about this particular data. I'll go back again. I want to bring now the sheet for February. Okay? I'll go again, click there, and then I go to get data, and then I come here and I click on that sheet. And then I go to my desktop, and then I look for my sheet for February, and then I import. So I want to bring that sheet for February. So I'll select it again, and then I want to check to see whether it is really February. Okay, it is. And then I'm going to click transform. And then I'm going to perform the same activity that I did previously. You see that once I select just one of the columns, statistics is off. You see that what comes on is the standard. Okay, but once I come here and I select this and I select this, all of these are on. Okay, but this one is also on because I've selected multiple. So I'm telling it that I want to perform a certain operation, and I click. Sorry, I've still clicked some. Normally I was supposed to click the average. Let me undo that. There is an option here called, sorry, let me see. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. Now here, when I come to this particular first data here, no, sorry, let me load this first. Sorry, let me load this inside my my Excel. Now you see that I have this particular data here. I'll just go now and I go to home, and then I click close and load. You see that I'm loading that data. Now I'm loading that data, and that data, now we have two tables here. Now that we have two tables, there is something that I want to do here. I want to first start checking the new columns that I've brought in. Are the headers the same? Because I have to be merging these two headers. Let me check. Children average is okay. Children average is okay. And then let's see total status. I want to check to ensure that the headers that I brought in new are the same. Okay, that's good. I can come here now and I copy this one from here, just as we did the previous time. Okay, Control C, and I come to this other data here, and then I just come here and I paste my data, just the values. Sorry, where is that paste? And I paste just the values. That's the data. I can start analyzing now from here, bringing those two columns as one. Pay attention to this. Now I can come here now and do something very interesting. Let's say I just want to merge this data while it is coming in. I don't want to do this long work that I just did, this long process. Okay, especially if I have the right tool. This is my data for February. I'm going to come to get data here, and I still get my data. Previous operation, in order also to allow people who are still having very low version of tools to also appreciate what we are doing, and they can be able to take actions. But if you have an updated version of Excel, it makes your work easy. Let's say we brought in this data, right, which is February. Now we have brought in this other data, which is January. And we have finished cleaning, as we saw. Right? We have finished cleaning. Let me do the operation again, and then we'll just merge the data. Like we saw during our introduction of this lesson, we talked about consolidating. Let's say you are receiving this data from the month of January right up to the month of March, and you want to be bringing this data in a very very stress-free manner. Remember that we had already cleaned this first table and we keep it here. Clean the second table and we keep it here. Make sure that all the headers are the same. If the headers have slight differences, the data will be breaking. Make sure that what you are writing here is the same thing that you wrote there, like the total. Let's check and see our total status. Make sure it is spelled correctly, the same. Children average, go back there, look at the new columns. The new columns are always good to check well, because these are the new columns that you are bringing in. That is where error can be found. You see? All right. Then I'll come now, choose any of this data. I can choose the one for February. I can choose the one for January to start with. There's an option here that says append query. I'll now click. It says append queries or append queries to new as new. I'll select that option. The moment I select that option, it tells me whether I want to append two tables. Now we have just two tables, right? And one of the table is data for train. This is the table here reflecting here. So I'm going to come here because I'm clicked on this data for train. So I'm telling Excel that, or Power Query, that I want my first table to start from this particular table. And I want my second table to also select this other second table here, this data for train 2. I will now select that because I want to append those two tables. You see, these two tables now, I want to join them. And then take note, let's say I wanted to join 3 or more tables. I'll click this option. You see that all the tables will be here. If you have analyzed data from 10 months, all those 10 months will be here. All you need to do is to select and then add, because this is where you're going to be appending. It says tables to append, available tables. So these are the available tables and want to append it here. Take note of that. So you just do that, transfer everything you want to append here, and then you click OK. Okay? So it's the same thing. Let's go back to 2 tables. To 2 tables is the same thing. I'm going to click OK now. The moment I click OK, both data will come into one. You see? So my data for January has been added to my data for February without any stress. But there's a problem I'm facing here. I allow this intentionally so you can see. You see that one of the data is text, one of the data is number. All numbers. Okay? One of the data is text. This one is text because the moment we adjusted, it came to this side for February. I'm going to come here again, and then I right click, and then I go to change data type. I go to text and I click. You see that it brings this other one, it adjusts the other one, and then my data is smooth. Okay, so I left that intentionally. So you see, these are the realities in your data. You just have to be creative and understand some of these skills. Now I'm going now to check my data. You see that two of these data, right, they have been merged as one. And then I can double click this one and I can name it any name that I want. I can say analysis. So this is what Scofie does every day to bring the data that it shows to you in education cluster and other clusters. Okay, so this is consolidation. We have consolidated this data. Now I'll go to home and then I go to close and load, and then the data now take me down to Excel. So the data, it is bringing me now to Excel. Remember we named it analysis, you see. So this is the full data here. So it saves us the stress for copying and pasting. Remember that the other one we had to copy and paste. This is it here. We had to copy and paste, but here now we already consolidated while we were in our Power Query, and this is where we are. Please, any questions?
Thank you very much, sir. I just got a little bit lost after you did the append, and then I saw you bringing in 1 or 2 tables. Could you please just go back a bit to, after you selected the 2 tables, you did something I didn't quite follow. Could you please go back just a bit?
Okay, I'm going to do that again. But sorry, I'll not record because this video has been recorded. So when we are watching this video, you will still re-watch it. So I'm going to do it without recording. Let me just do it again, okay?
I follow up every month, and I have an Excel sheet for their reports. So they give me like data for host community and IDPs, just like you had here, for every month that I've attended to, giving psychosocial support and other things. Now I was finding out from you, when I reach at the level of append, and I have to consolidate data, say for the month of July to about right to November, and I don't have any tables, like I've not done any tables yet. Is it possible to just bring in this, how I don't even know how to put the question, but
no, I understand.
Maybe
I understand what you are saying. I understand what you are saying.
Okay.
So one of the rules of thumb when you deal with consolidation is that when you look at your data for February, it needs to have the same format with the data for January, and so on and so forth, because what is consolidating, what is syncing this data are the headers. If this name here is name of funder, it should be the same with the name in your data for January. If these names are different, then your code is going to break. Remember that it's a code that is playing at the background. Those operations you see, they are codes that are playing. They are written codes that, okay, if you do this and do this, then this is the result we want to see. But these laws must apply. So the laws that must apply is what I'm telling you. The data must have the same format. Now, for the body of the data here inside the table, they can be different. As you can see, I can change anything here, but my data will still sync because the headers are the same with the other sheets. Make sure that that is respected when you consolidate data. The format must be the same. The format here means the headers. If there are 5 columns in this first sheet, there should be 5 columns in the other sheet. Very important. So here now, I can also go to choose column, and I say go to column, and I click. Once I click, when I select division and I click OK, you see that it brings me to division. Once I click, when I select girls and I click and I say OK, it takes me to girls. So this allows you to work very quick with your Power Query, because Microsoft understands that data used to be very long. As you can see, you see what I'm doing? See. You know, just rolling all the time, going back and forth, left and right. It creates a lot of, it becomes boring. But if you can use some of these shortcuts, it allows you to navigate very quick around your data. So now, I want to teach you how to bring data in using your folders. But before I start, I want to first of all take this first data here, which is organization A, and I put it inside this folder. So I'll first start by cleaning this data in this folder. And when I clean this data and take any action, these other data, when I put them, they will follow that same action that I took. Let's try and see how it works. Remember, we have named this as consolidation, right? Here we go. All right. So come to data, and then I come to get data. I go to from files, and then I choose my folder. Now, I want to get data from the folder. Remember that we have put one of our files in the folder. What we are doing here is we are assuming that the first file that came in was file from organization A, for instance, and we wanted to make our work easy, so we have created a folder and then put that file inside that folder because we want to be analyzing from that folder. So what we are saying is we are communicating to that folder, and then that folder communicate to any file that is in that folder. Now there's one rule of thumb here. Make sure that you always come down here and choose combine and transform. If you choose combine and transform, you are saying that you want to be combining the data. You want to create a relationship, automatic relationship, where you are combining and then you are transforming, because you are already aware that there are other data that will be coming in. This is very powerful. This is what I use most of the times to do my data, especially when data is coming from different areas and there's no time and you always need to clean data, analyze data. Now this data here, I'll select. Remember that this data is coming from organization A, which we have seen. This is it here. So we have just brought this data in the same way we did with the files, right? But what we have done now, we have brought in using our folders, and then we have come here, choosing load, combine and transform, and then we have selected the data and I'm clicking OK. So it's taking us again to Power Query, but in a different style. This time not through that file but through a folder. So the folder will bring it there, and as I'm communicating, the folder is taking down notes of every action I'm taking to this particular file. So if I take 5 actions in this particular file and I drop any other file in that folder, it will automatically clean following those actions. See what I'm going to do here now. We are not going to do anything really big. We have already done a lot of transformation using this Power Query. I'll just go ahead. Okay, this is the data here. The difference here is that you see the source name. This source name is what is holding the data. It shows that it's coming from a file. And then let's say in this data, we just want to delete status, right? Total status. I want to right click. I want to show you that you can also delete from here. Other columns you can do it from. You can duplicate columns. Okay, I'll just come here and I delete total status. I'll come here again, right click, and I delete total children. I'm showing you that without using these options up here, you can also, by right clicking here, do the same. Now you and I know that the actions we have taken on that data is simply just deleting total status and total children. That's the action we have taken. Now I'm going to come here and then close my data and load. So I want to load it into this main data analysis sheet. So the data is going to come in here. So this is my data here. You see that we don't have total children, we don't have total status here, right? In the other way around, you could still take this data looking like this, and then in the Power Query, you instead add those other options. It's still the same, or whichever way you want. Now, this is what I want you to take note of. I'm going now to come here. Very simple. And then take this data for organization B. I'll just drop it in this file. I take that for organization C. Now let me drop the first one and you see the action that will take place. When I drop it in that folder, I'm going to come to data and I go to refresh all and I click refresh. You see that data already came in, and this is what happened. All the other action I took in the previous data, it already followed that option. Those actions are already, it just comes and respect that protocol. Okay, so you see, so other organization is sending their data. I don't have time to clean it because I have a lot of work I'm doing. I'll just finish making sure that data follow the same format and I drop it inside this. And then I come to my sheet here, right? I go to data and then I click refresh. It brings me data C. You see, A, B, C. One organization is left. They are wasting time. I've sent emails, sent all kinds of messages, call them and say, hey, be quick. This is December. We are closing the year. Okay, and subsequently they sent. I have other work in the field. I just clean, save their data here, drop it in this file, go to my main data analysis file, go to data very quick, and then I just click refresh, and then organization D appears down here. You see how quick I brought that data in without any stress. That is it. What is happening here is this column is very important. This is the source file. This column indicates the folder. Okay, so this folder is holding all of them. So when it comes, it tells the folder, this first sheet, it tells the other sheet that, hey, before you came here, we had deleted status and total children. So follow that same order. It says, okay, I hear you. It enters there, and that is done. Assuming that we are taking all the actions, maybe deleting columns, maybe adding rows, maybe doing this and that, this other sheet will just come and follow that same protocol. Is that understood and clear? So we came from bringing in a specific data from one workbook and then consolidating with another from another workbook. We went further to look at how you can start consolidating data by using a folder which has one workbook, and then later on bring data into that folder, and it follows the pattern that the first folder or workbook was having, the first workbook was having in that folder. So we have the data here now for January and for February in the same workbook here, right? In the same workbook. So we want to bring this data in to answer that question. I'm going to go again to Excel, very simple. Go to my get data, go here, and then I still select my Excel workbook, right? And I choose. That is why there you find Excel/Excel workbook. I'll go to the data that says January and February, and I'll choose, because it has two sheets, one sheet for February, one sheet for January. Please take note, each sheet represents a table. I'll now say select multiple. You see, February data, we can see it here previewed, and then January data, we can see it here previewed. So I can select all of them at the same time, okay? I can now say transform data, and I push it now into my Power Query. Okay? So this is another way that you can bring in data. And then here now, we are going to be looking at how you can use conditional columns, okay? So thank you very much for that question. It is going to sync the same, just as we saw it previously. So with conditional format or conditional column, all you need to do is go up here to add column, choose a conditional column again, and when you choose it, a dialog box is going to appear like this, and then give it a name. I want to say end result. Maybe our project was targeting some particular amount of people, and then I want to see specifically the totals, right? Good. And I want to have a threshold. If this data is greater than 50, if it's greater than 30, then our project is good, because that's our target. At least we want to reach that target. If not, this one is else, then the program is bad. Okay, we can add another condition. We can say if the girls are equals to 60, right, then it's good. If not, then it's bad. It means that the project had specific indicators that we wanted to reach. So we are using conditional column to really capture our indicators and see whether we actually met them. So according to this project, based on boys and girls, we wanted to go above 40. But based on girls specifically, we wanted to have at least, it should be equal to 60. Okay? Or you can say it should be greater than or equal to 60. I love this. Okay? And then I put my okay. And then here now, you see that it reveals that our project was good. All the data goes above 40. You can see it from here. And then girls are equals 50 or above. This is very, very important for us. This is very, very important. So it came here and analyzed girls and said they are above 60 and above. Sorry, this particular data is above 60 and above. So we're looking at the totals. We're looking at the totals, not specifically girls, sorry. So we're saying that They are either above 40 totals or girls are above 60. Yes, so